agent of sadness. So I think he's up to the task. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so proud to introduce myself as also going by the name Jim Weber. I'm the fourth kid in the Weber 5, and I have the great honor of speaking to you here today on behalf of my siblings about our great dad, or as we call him, Sir. My dad was never one for long speeches, whether it was a wedding, baptism, or regular Sunday Mass. If the speaker went beyond 10 minutes, he'd generally fall asleep. In the case of a funeral, his words would be something like, "Jimmy, as long as the guy doing the eulogy is okay, we should be out of here in time to catch the game." Regretfully, the Leafs are on the West Coast tonight, and they don't play till 10, and I'm more of a talker than he was, so that having been said, there's really not enough time to touch on my dad's many great accomplishments, the multitude of people whose lives he enriched, and the special times he shared with all of us, but I'd like to give it a shot. First and foremost, my dad was a loving husband, a caring father to his 2 daughters, and a great coach to his 3 sons. He really was the embodiment of the word family, and the dad, husband, and grandpa that all of us in such a role strive to be. If there's one word I could use to describe my dad, that word would be selfless. No matter what the situation, my dad always put the needs of others before himself. He cared for and welcomed everyone in the room, but mostly those people who were in the corners. My dad carried a black pocketbook where he kept the names, phone numbers, and birthdays of all the very important people in his life. And we were also lucky to be in that book, and trust me, you were in it. I was flipping through the book the other day and noticed that every single entry related to other people. They didn't relate to him. They weren't his events. They were your events. He had so many different invites to games, dinners, bridge games, things like that. And he wanted to be at those events because you people had invited him. He was all about you. Whether you ran into him at church, on the driveway, at the grocery store, his focus was always on, how are you doing? How are your kids doing? How's your life going? He was all about you. And that selflessness is really exactly what made him the person he was. So without getting too long-winded, I do want to try and investigate how this happened, how this great selfless person became the person he was. My dad was born in Toronto to his father, Clayton, who was manager of the Oakwood Hotel. And my aunt just told me the other night that the Oakwood Hotel had the largest tonnage of any hotel in Canada, and I guess that means beer consumption. So it may be genetic. His mother's name was Angela. She was a school teacher and a principal. My dad was a member of his own Weber 4, along with his brother John and his sisters Angela and Mary Ann. And my father, he lost his own father at the age of 7. And I believe this loss shaped the person that he became. It instilled in him a desire to give so much more for so much longer to his own kids. I believe it was his mission in life to be a great father, and I can resolutely attest that he absolutely accomplished that mission. He gave the Weber 5 all of our tools. The tools consisted of our Family First mandate, our educations, and certainly our work ethic. Before his chapters as husband and father began, there was Sir the Kid. His earliest years were in the Lawrence Park area of North Toronto. As a young boy, both he and his brother John attended Blessed Sacrament Catholic School, where my kids currently go to school, ironically. After the passing of his father, the family moved to the Leaside area, and this is where he spent the bulk of his youth and started to become the Sir that we know and love. And while church, schooling, and his paper route were his grounding as a kid, it was not simply all work and no play. My dad was recently telling me about how as a youth they would go to Maple Leaf Gardens for the afternoon St. Mike's hockey game, and then they would hide out in the bathroom stalls all afternoon so they could sneak into the Leaf game at night. And I'm thinking maybe that's where my dad and I developed our love for bathroom stalls. My dad was smart. He was very, very smart. He skipped a series of grades and went to St. Michael's High School, where he graduated grade 13 at the age of 16, 3 years ahead of schedule. And although he was more than qualified to continue studying at his chosen University of Toronto, he was simply too young to go, so they held him back. So imagine this. You're 16 years old, you got a year to blow. You travel the world, you go to Europe. No, sir being sir, he decided to be the team manager for the St. Mike's hockey team. Like everything he did in life, he took his job as the team manager very, very seriously. My aunt tells me how she used to be awoken in their Least Side home, and my dad would be sleepwalking up and down the hall counting hockey sticks. Following a stint as the team manager, my dad resumed his studies at the University of Toronto, where he graduated with a commerce degree and later got his CA. This was really a roadmap for my brother Rich, who followed in the exact same steps about 30 years later. But amidst all his progress, the biggest moment of his life came in 1965 when he met my mom. My mom soon became the love of his life, and they walked side by side together every day from the day they were married until just last Friday. No doubt this was my dad's greatest accomplishment. Together with my mom, they showed us what commitment, dedication, support, and love truly mean. They really were a team. Shortly following their marriage, my parents moved to Burlington and eventually settled at 3176 Woodward Avenue, an address that many of you know, and I'm sure a house that many of you have been to. What you did there, we're not going to talk about. My dad went to work at Mohawk College and spent over 30 years at Mohawk, starting in the classroom, moving on to dean, and eventually becoming a VP. He took so much pride in his work at Mohawk, and he loved the people with whom he worked. My dad had a very successful career, yet despite his success never changed him. Likewise, my dad's expectations for us never changed. In our house, church was not an option. It was an expectation. Sleeping in was not an option. Part-time work was the expectation. And school was not an option. A solid effort and solid marks were the expectation. But most importantly, his rule on Woodward Avenue and the words that all of the Weber kids came to live by were the words, family comes first. My dad was unbelievably consistent. He did not have off days. And he was true to his values. Family comes first. My dad retired from Mohawk in '97, but that was by no means the end of his work. And I'll touch on that in just a minute. Despite his very active career, his large family, and other commitments, he still found time for a few passions. And as you've heard today, one of his passions was golf. Many of you here had the experience of golfing with him, and that was really quite the event. As you know, he did not hit out of sand traps. They were a hazard. Why would you hit out of a hazard? Simply toss your ball onto the green and close to the flag as possible. Virtually every putt was a gimme. You think it's good? I think it's good. Oh, yeah, no, don't count that one. Your score will get too high. And most importantly, the quality of a golf course was measured not by the greens or the slope. It was measured by the quality of the hot dog at the turn and the amount of mustard you could get on that. My dad would golf with anyone, young, old, newbie, or pro. He didn't really care about the game. He cared about the person he was with. His take on golf spoke volumes about who he was. He never set out to win. He simply wanted everyone to play. And he was concerned far more about those people trying to make the cut than the logjam at the top of the leaderboard. This trait was not just in golf, but in life. In his later years, he really got wiser. He'd insist on team matches. With the stakes being hot dogs and beers at the end of the round, his random teams always seemed to result in him being paired with the all-star in the group. And he genuinely believed he contributed to those wins. I wouldn't want to taint his legacy by saying he was a good golfer. He simply was not. But what I will say is that he loved his time on the golf course because he was golfing with the people he loved. His second big passion was losing sports teams. Always the Buffalo Bills, the Leafs of the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. He was a bit weird in this sense. The worse they got, the more he enjoyed it. He watched these epic collapses and brutal performances decade after decade. And while the word hate was not in his vocabulary, he certainly had extensive animated commentary on Dion Phaneuf, the various Bills quarterbacks, and his favorite target of all, Ty Domi. Conversely, his other big passion was winning sports teams, the Leafs of the 50s and 60s, the Blue Jays, who he kept so dear to his heart even when they were lousy. My sister Jennifer's soccer teams, basically because she was the only kid who had any athletic ability at all. And obviously any team that featured one of his grandchildren, they were all winners in his book. So I don't want to talk too long, but I spoke earlier about my dad's retirement from Mohawk in the 90s, and I'd be remiss if I didn't round out the story of his career. After Mohawk, my dad spent many years working as an accountant and consultant to so many different business owners. Almost all of those people came to him through a long-term friendship, and most of these people called when they were lost and in need of help. My dad always said yes when asked for help. He never said no, not once. He helped his friends file taxes the night before filing deadlines. He helped administer estates. He helped buy businesses, sell businesses. There was no task to which he said no, and he seemed to always have the expertise. So many of our friends came to my dad for advice on schools, jobs, careers, houses, investments. He was confidential, he was honest, and he was trusted. So many people in this room landed in a better place because of advice that my dad gave them on a business or life decision. So you would think from his paper route in Leaside to Mohawk College to his valued consulting work that his life was complete. But his best work was still to come. In my mind, the day my dad's career truly launched was January 1st, 2009. This was the day that I bought a company called Interco, which specializes in toilet stalls. My dad had been the accountant at Interco for almost 40 years. And I must say it was one of the most exciting days of my life when I got to report into my new company to work with my dad. His hours, Tuesdays from 7 till 12. As the president of the company, I simply assumed the part-time accountant would be reporting into me, following my direction. Whew, was I wrong? In fact, what happened is over the last 8 years, my dad very slowly turned my company into his own personal playground. Sure, he was dependable, wise, astute. He mentored me on relationships, taught me finance, and certainly hammered me on my spending at Harbor 60 in the Leaf games. But that's not really where the problems arose. The problems arose when my dad started developing a few bad habits in the workplace. The first bad habit he had is he would ride me when I was late for work. So what would happen is I would say, we're going to start at 8. My dad would say, we're going to start at 6. We saw it off at 7 o'clock. Based upon the agreed upon 7 o'clock start time, my dad would nevertheless arrive in my parking lot at about 4 in the morning. He'd be having his coffee, his Tim Hortons jelly donut, which he's not supposed to be having, and he'd be reading the Toronto Sun. I'd arrive at 6:45, 15 minutes ahead of schedule, but still late, according to my dad. And each morning, he'd roll down his window to say good morning, and his face would be covered in the powder from the jelly donut. So I would look at him and I would say, so what did you have for breakfast today? And he'd look me square in the eye, straight face, and he would say, raisin bran. He would then switch topics and start firing into me for being late for work despite being 15 minutes early. This happened every single Tuesday for 8 years without fail. My dad was consistent. That is who he was. The second habit he developed was at work he started a book club. As many of you know, books were another one of my dad's great passions. He was an avid reader, and I guess he just couldn't confine his excitement for books to his home life. So he brought it to work. So with only a 5-hour workday, he simply decided one of those hours needed to be used for a book club. And so I said to him, well, that's a great idea. Why don't we do it during the downtime of the day? He agreed and then picked 10 a.m. So he had a rule about the book club. The book club was if you were a woman, you could join the club. If you were a man, you had to read this Steve Jobs book that was about 700 pages long to get into the club. Therefore, the club consisted of my dad and 4 women. My dad made the book club a priority. Money could be drying up, sales could be down, we could have projects that were a mess, but the book club ran. This happened every single Tuesday for the 8 years that I worked with my dad. He was consistent, that is who he was. And his last habit, which started to cause really big problems, was his implementation of the 2-hour Swiss Chalet festive special lunch, which was a giant drain on productivity. No doubt, my dad's favorite time of the year was mid-November to early January when Swiss Chalet ran its annual festive special meal deal. Now, the federal government, when they changed from GST to HST, that was a very big impact on my dad. But nothing like when Swiss Chalet moved from Toblerones to the Lindor chocolate balls. That was absolutely earth-shattering. When the food arrived, it was simply fine dining. He'd be sitting at the table in his traditional top left position, discussing anything from business to politics to sports to home life. And his most recent people of interest, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. So I'm not an accountant, but by my math, my dad's 5-hour workday, less the hour-long book club and the 2-hour lunch, worked out to a grand whopping total of 2 hours per week. And those 2 hours, I wouldn't give them up for the world. The last week has been extremely difficult on us, and one of the hardest parts for me personally was when I went into work. As most of you know, my dad wasn't a big computer guy. He printed up almost everything, and he'd carry it around in this big plastic box, this big plastic crate. He'd be lugging this crate in and out of the office. And the crate was off limits. That was his stuff. I'd give him information, he'd change it so it's correct, put it in the box and ask me not to look at it. So I could go living my illusion of a business. This Tuesday, for the first time, I had to go digging into the box, and I came across an envelope, and I pulled it out, and I thought it was just absolutely fitting, because it made no sense whatsoever why this would be in here, but this is what I pulled out of the envelope. It's a picture of my mom. Now, I don't know how long it's been in the box, but I think it's been a few years. My dad carried this picture of my mom every day to work in his box. And it makes sense to me. That's what he was all about. He was a loving husband who carried my mom, his wife, throughout his life. He was a role model as a husband, the type of spouse every married person should try to be. So in closing, it's my hope that all of you here will follow Sir's lead and carry your loved ones with you every single day. That's what he would have wanted, and that's what he taught us to do. Now let's wrap up. The Leafs are in Anaheim, and he wants to watch the game. Thank you very much.